What's up, everyone? Alex here, and welcome to my little corner of the internet. I wanted to talk about the abinary spectrum because I talked about it a little bit before, the experience of being abinary, and I wanted to go way more in depth and just kind of throw some terms out there that I usually, in the same manner that I usually do, where I just kind of throw some words out there. When I talk in depth about certain gender concepts, but the expectation is that people will see these words pop up on screen and kind of do some of their own research. Like, they'd go on to look these terms up and be like, oh, I wonder what goes into all of this kind of identity. And I'm trying to encourage research and encourage curiosity. I think that's mainly why I do videos like this, where I talk about terminology and then I throw like a whole dictionary's worth of terms out there and I'm like, here you go. That's how you spell this. But yeah, being able to like look it up and look more into it, especially if I've missed like a key point. I think like that's also like sometimes I just forget to cover something. Sometimes I'll do a follow-up video, but like a lot of the time, like I'll throw some words out there and then like I forget that there was like a specific kind of detail to that terminology, but that's where you find that out when you look them up. So that's what I was hoping for with this video and with other similar videos. So we are talking about the abinary spectrum. Abinary is a term referring to being entirely outside of the binary. Non-binary refers to genders that are not entirely male or female, so sometimes it can overlap with binarity. So you have terms like demi-boy or demi-girl that are non-binary terms. They're not abinary because they still, sorry, I hit my coffee cup with my phone, but demi-boy and demi-girl still have some relation to the binary, either overlapping it or having some kind of proximity to it. So they wouldn't be abinary terms, they'd be non-binary terms. Non-binary is the bigger umbrella, and abinary is part of that umbrella. So abinary is a lot like non-binary, where it encompasses a lot of different gender experiences, but you can also just use it as a term on its own. I haven't really seen that as often as when people just say they're non-binary and that's the only label that they use. I don't see abinary used in that way. It's used more to further explain being entirely outside of the binary, and I think generally the view is that if they're going to go that far as to specify it's abinary and not just non-binary, there's probably a specific gender experience in mind. So that's probably why people don't typically use abinary by itself, but that doesn't mean you can't. You absolutely could just say abinary, and like that can just be the term on its own, just like you would just call yourself non-binary by itself. So I want to go over types of genders that you might find within the abinary spectrum. The first one being aporin, which is anything that's referring to a para gender and anything similar to that, not being male or female or anything in between, nothing at all close to those genders, but still feeling a specific strong gendered feeling. So a para gender is a very common aporin gender that falls under this. So it's not male, not female, and not anything between them, and it's also not genderless because of that strong kind of inner sense of gender identity that you don't see with agender and related terms. So you have a para gender, you have neutral as a gender quality, and that just refers to not being masculine or feminine. And neutroi is a very common neutral gender, so is epicene. Some people might consider androgyny under neutral. It entirely depends, because androgyny is the combination of masculine and feminine qualities, whereas epicene is a neutral gender that is a lack of gender distinction. Some androgynies can be a lack of gender distinction, but there are two different terms for this. So under neutral genders, you have neutroid and you have epicene. And beyond that, you have othrine genders. So they're not masculine, feminine, neutral, or null. So it doesn't include agender. A lot of abinary terms don't include agender, but technically it can. It depends on how people want to use the terminology. I will get to that in a minute, but othrine genders, that includes maverick and other maverin genders. I've talked about maverinity a lot. It includes iliogender, which is just a specific gender that's not male, female, neutral, or agender. So just a gender you have. It lacks the autonomy of maverick, so it's like maverick if it wasn't entirely outside of convention. Paragender is another one, very similar to iliogender. I had looked up, I actually want to look up myself just so I can see the difference between iliogender and paragender. I should get me a Spanish keyboard. I think that's a thing you can do so that I can put the grave mark on the E when I have to spell something. Otherwise, I have to put the little code in, the little alt number pad code. Let me see. So paragender goes out of its way. It is just called para sometimes, but paragender does go out of its way to say that it doesn't include a lack of gender, confusion about one's gender, or apathy about one's gender. Iliogender does not go out of its way to explain that it is not gender confusion or apathy, but it does say it's a tangible presence of gender. So some people might want to make the distinction between paragender and iliogender, where one is a more assured experience of gender. They were coined by two different people at two different times, so sometimes you do get very similar terms, and sometimes you pick a term to describe your gender because you prefer one over the other. Maybe you like the flag better, or maybe you like how the word rolls off the tongue. That just, it's entirely up to whoever decides to use that term, how they think it sounds to them. There's androgender that falls under othrine, and that is the combination of othrine and another gender quality. So if you're both masculine and othrine, it would be called androphon. If you're both feminine and othrine, it would be androdo. Androdon would be the combination of androgynous, and othrine, etc., etc. Androgender is a system of genders where it's an othrine quality mixed with another quality. So that falls under othrine. And all of that, neutral, othrine, that falls under aporine, the gender quality related to being a poragender. You don't have to call maverick an aporagender, but some people might call it an aporine gender, meaning that it is outside of masculine and feminine without being genderless. So I included agenderin, which is the gender quality related to being agender, because some people might consider their genderlessness to be abinary, because it does technically fall within abinarity, but it is a lack of internal gender. It's a lack of gender identity. So sometimes it's more of a not applicable, more so than it is I'm not these things. So agender would be under that, which would include, Libra gender, which is mostly agender with a connection to another gender, nixic genders, which are, they're genderless and connected to another gender. So similar to Libra gender. Libra gender is just mostly agender, whereas Nixic is entirely agender with like an alignment or a connection to another gender. So like Nixvere is genderlessness, but with a connection to being male, and then Nixera is the female counterpart to that. Gender void falls within this little spectrum. Null gender or gender null, gray gender sometimes can fall under this. There is a couple corrections I wanted to make, even though you can't even see the document that I'm looking at, but I had originally put Kenochoric, tenuous genders like Kenochoric, on the list of like abinary genders, but that does not belong there. Xenogender doesn't belong there either, because Kenochoric is its own system of genders and its own gender experience. It's based on the feeling of kenopsia, which is when a place is typically more active, full of people, full of life, and it's suddenly like empty, like there's nobody around, kind of like an empty mall or like an abandoned building, like something eerie and empty, and sometimes loneliness can be a part of it, but it's its own gender experience. It not unlike gender void, if you like really want to make like pedantic connections between genders, but like it really is its own gender that does not say it's the lack of gender. It's the feeling of genderedness that can include feelings of emptiness, loneliness, eeriness. Somebody put gender void like under Kenochoric somewhere, which like, yeah, I can get that. But it should not have been on the list of abinary genders, because that's just not like it's its own thing. Same with xenogender. Xenogender, like calling it abinary is like calling a whale not a dog. Like that's not a connection or a like comparison that needs to be made. Like, yeah, xenogender is technically outside of the binary, but it's outside of gender as a construct, gender as a concept. So it doesn't belong here. It belongs in its own kind of category. So yeah, these two should not have been here, I guess. I mean, this list was kind of rough, I guess. I also have to correct that on the wiki, which I'm literally just going to go there now. Going back to abinary genders, actual abinary genders, some Ewan genders fall under this. Ewan gender is unknown in nature, unquantifiable, unnamed, unsure, undecided. Any specific label that is basically like, I'm not entirely sure what my gender is, falls under Ewan gender, and you would hear this most often with either gender ambiguity or something like cast gender, which is just gender apathy. There's a number of ambiguous genders that fall under this. Quigender is another one. Big umbrella term for like you're either unsure of your gender or you don't feel like gender applies to you, but you don't want to call yourself agender for whatever reason. It's a number of experiences. So any gender that's like, you know, unquantifiable, unknowable, typically is abinary. Typically it's like, I know for sure I'm not male or female, but I don't know what else other than that. Another one that's very uncommonly used is a non-binary. This existed before Otherin existed, and it just means that you're not non-binary or abinary. I have to make a correction here because I said that a non-binary is not non-binary or abinary. The definition is that it's not binary or non-binary. Other than that, I think everything here is fine. Bye. Keep watching. I would consider a non-binary kind of like an unlabel, where it's kind of like you'll say not applicable, or I'm neither of those, or I'm both of those, or I'm other. It's very non-specific for a reason, and a non-binary, I think, could fall under that. The quality of a non-binary is a non-binary. That's one that I came up with because nobody had given a quality to a non-binary. I think a lot of the focus has been on orthorhynity. So a non-binary kind of like sort of took a back seat. I don't see it used often, but I like it as a term because of its usage as an unlabel. You can tell my voice is getting strained, but this is the first and only video I've recorded like this week, so I don't know what's going on with me. My last work day wasn't like, I didn't talk a lot, so I don't know what's going on with my voice. So apologies if like my throat's just very dry, and it is not being placated by coffee or water. I'm trying, but it's just a thing right now. So yeah, that's the abinary spectrum. I'll probably put it on the end card. I have a video where I talked about abinary versus non-binary, comparing the two and what genders fall within the two umbrella terms. They're two very big umbrella terms, but they do have their specific differences. That's the interesting thing, is that like I experience a non-binary malehood, but then like I'm also neutroi at the same time, which is an abinary gender. So I kind of experience binarity and non-binarity and abinarity all at the same time. I mean, other than that, there you go, the abinary spectrum. I wanted this to be kind of an introductory video to the rest of the topics for this month, because I've got a few very specific abinary topics to talk about, so I thought it would be cool to go over abinarity and then go from there. Yeah, other than that, I am signing off for now. See you later.